Radhe Radhe, welcome to Bhagavad Gita study. This is my second attempt at this. I already recorded a whole video while I was studying this verse and something happened. I wanted to change the orientation of the video and save it, and it said not enough space, and I ended up deleting some stuff and I can't find the video anymore. So I'm doing this second time. For this video, my idea was to cover certain things that had been asked earlier. Somebody had asked me to show them how I use the highlighters, how I use all the supplies, and that's what I wanted to share first. That's what I did in my earlier recording. So what I do, and this is up to you. You can do any number of colors or just some colors. It's up to you what you do. Now, what I do with this version, it always differs. So, for some versions, I use only 2. For some versions, I use more. It totally actually depends upon you. So, what I do is all things that Krishna has said is blue. And everything that I need to note down or something that's very important that I want to take from the verse is this yellow. And just as an example for other colors, I'm going to show you another verse, 6:30. So you see the blue highlight, this is Krishna saying, and anything that is quoted from another scripture as a reference is purple. So you see Taittiriya Upanishad quoted here for this verse, and Ramcharitmanas, and this one is Bhagavatam and Ramcharitmanas, the entire thing. So I just circled with the purple, and these are the things that I wanted to pick up from the verse, so yellow. And these, if you look at, I have used orange, which is Gita's purport having Gita references. So if it's within Gita, orange. If it is another scripture, then purple. So Lord himself says in the Gita 10:8, I am the source of all creation. Everything in the world moves because of me. These things have been highlighted with an orange. And pink is for Arjuna. Whenever Arjuna asks a question, thinks something, or the verse says anything about Arjuna, it's going to be pink. So these are what I'm following here. Blue is for Krishna. Pink is for Arjuna. Did I drop the yellow already? Yeah, the dark yellow is the key takeaways or what I wanted to take from the verse. The orange is Bhagavad Gita's references. Purple is other scriptures references. In addition to that, what I do is I also use these post-it notes. These are called sticky notes. I don't know what they're called in India, but these have some adhesives in it. You can just pick them up like this and stick them. So whenever the adhesive side is on this side, okay. So whenever I have something to note, and you will see that in most of my Gitas, I have additional stuff to note down. I would always note down here and there. Especially when I watch videos and take notes, that's how I take it. I do use other notebook like a piece of paper, but I also use these notes. So for today's video, what we are going to do is to look at what core elements of a proper study consists of. And we are also going to study this verse, which I did on camera in my previous video. It so happens that it was not destined to be that way. So today I'm just going to read out what I actually did. So before we go to 17:15, we are going to look at what consists of a good study. Now I had already said in my beginner series video that your intention to study should be intact. That is, you should clearly know what your intention is. So that being intact, now let's look at what will give you successful study. Now, contemplation. So, if your study does not include the element of contemplation, there is absolutely no way anything is going to be achieved out of your study. So, the first thing I said is setting intentions of the study. It should be intact. You should know why you're studying Gita. It could be is it because you want to know stuff and you want to appear much more knowledgeable to others, or is it because you want to find out answers, or is it because you want to get closer to God? Is it because you want to walk the path of spirituality? Whatever it is, it has to be centered around your intentions. So next one is revisiting verses every now and then in light of our everyday life. So if you study a verse, you should be able to contemplate it later, which is contemplation is just repeating your thinking about the verse throughout the day, or a few days later, whatever, when you can contemplate whenever you want, but the element of contemplation should be included in your study. So how would you make sure you contemplate on the verse is that you will revisit the verses every now and then. For example, we are going to study 17:15 today. If I just continue with my study in order or randomly, for the entire week I'm studying 17:16, 17:17, and the end of the week I'm done with 20. It is extremely good to come back to this verse and look at what is there. Either my notes or just the verse. Just look at the verse. That will make you think of the essence of the verse being applicable to your everyday life. Now, the general thought about these Bhagavad Gita is that, oh, this is sublime, this is very deep, and here I am going about my day doing mundane things. I'm washing dishes, I'm sweeping the floor, I'm getting ready for work, I am dealing with an annoying co-worker, a boss, whatever. How will I ever be able to apply? And it will be applied. If you keep revisiting the verses, you will be able to take much more than what the verse is about to be able to apply in your real life. And then being in constant touch with the book. This is how you can pave way for contemplation. You just be in constant touch with the book. I'm not even asking you to read the book. Just carry the book, keep it, and if you're able to read it in lunch break or some break, early in the morning, soon after you come from office, if you're working, if you're a homemaker like me, you go here and there, you're in the kitchen, you have a book open, you make sure you take notes and do these post-it notes and keep them there on the fridge. You do something to be in touch with the book every day, at least like I'm talking about physically touching the book every day. Trust me, it has its benefits. Number 2 is retention. If your study does not include ways and means to retain the verses, then again there is nothing that's going to be accomplished. How will you retain the central theme of a chapter and a verse? Use of tools such as flashcards, and if you see, these are called like flashcards or index cards. I don't know what it is called in other countries, but these are just ruled cards. Or you can even use a piece of paper. Then tiny magnetic boards, you have these on that can be stuck on the fridge, and women have it to write their grocery lists and things like that on the fridge. So every time you read, you just buy another one and put it on the fridge, write a verse, and just every time you walk to the kitchen you will see the verse. That is how you retain the verse, looking at it every now and then. Posters for constant viewing. So you can make posters or buy posters that have Gita verses and the meanings. And in that context, I wanted to tell you, please don't, if you have that poster that says, जो कल किसी का था कल किसी और का होगा, and you know that kind of poster that I'm saying says it's Gita Saramsh, and it gives you good things only, but they are not from Gita. Whatever was yours today, whatever is yours today will be somebody else's tomorrow, somebody else's yesterday, something like that. They're all good thoughts, but they're not from Gita. Do not buy that poster and think you have a Gita poster at home. That's not Gita. That is a good poster, but not Gita. So buy authentic ones that have the verse and the meaning, and it should tell you which chapter it is, and it should give you meaning. Or make posters. This will be a good creative effort that you can engage into. Buy a chart paper and stick a picture of Krishna or peacock feather and just write a verse and its meaning and post it somewhere at home, so that you can keep on looking at it and you are able to retain. And good use of social media. This is one more element in your study, that it should include listening to lectures, or attending lectures if it is possible. But social media has brought everything right at the tip of a finger. So I recommend Swami Sarvapriyananda's Bhagavad Gita verses lectures. There is Telugu, Samavedan Shanmuga Sharmas. Then in Tamil you have Nachur Swamis, and then you also have Swami Omkarananda's Tamil lectures in Bhagavad Gita. He is not in the world anymore. He has moved on, but his work is just amazing. All the verses are there. He did as far as 16 or 17 chapter. I think the channel is still uploading them here. So even though he is not around in this world, his lectures are still there, still coming in fact. So you can learn from those, and there are many. There is Chinmayananda and other people that have spoken in YouTube, and you can make use of those and make notes, keep listening. That's how you retain your what you study. And the third one is application. So probably the most important one. It is okay that you have ways to contemplate on the verse, ways to retain the verse, but if you're not able to apply it, there's again, the point of your study is lost. The way you take things for application is you take 2-3 key takeaways from the verse, which is, what is it telling you that you can apply in your life? Now, I've seen many people saying, Arjuna is saying this, Arjuna has this kind of a mind, and Krishna is very beautifully, removing his doubt by saying this. Look at all this, and look at how Sanatana Dharma is giving answers. That's not the point of the study. At least, that's what I think. That's not the point of the study. The point of the study is for you to be able to apply what is said there in your everyday life. Okay, again, the same argument would come. These are sublime, truths. How am I going to apply it? Swami Vivekananda always talks about divinizing your everyday life. You have to take divine truths and apply it to everyday life wherever it is possible, and it is possible in every way. So how you will do that is to take or parse the verse and take 3 things that are very important from the verse. Take notes, you highlight important parts of the purport, including in your notes. Studies, how would I apply? This is the question that you should always include in your study. How am I going to apply it? Now, if you include these core elements in your study will be extremely helpful and complete. Now, this is the one that we are going to study. This is 15th verse from 17th chapter. Anudvekakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chayat swadhyayabhyasan chaiva vanmayam tapa uchyate. Now, words which cause no annoyance to others and are truthful, agreeable and wholesome, as well as the study of Vedas and other Shastras and the practice of repetition of divine name, this is known as austerity of speech. Now, if you look at 17th chapter, it's all about Trivida Bhakti, Trivida Shraddha, 3 types of Shraddha, 3 types of Bhakti, 3 types of gifts, 3 types of sacrifices, 3 types of speech, 3 types of thoughts. Everything is being explained by Lord in the basis of 3 gunas that we have. Now, here this verse talks about integrity or austerity of speech. Now, I'm going to read the purport, and I have highlighted things that are going to be taken out from this verse for my retention, contemplation and application. Words which cause no annoyance to others and are absolutely untainted by calumny, which is defamatory, and slander, etc., are called anudvegakara. Words that do not cause annoyance. So, anudvegakara's definition is here. So, I highlighted that with yellow. Similarly, truthful words are those which state the bare truth in order to convey to others a correct idea of what one has actually seen, heard, or experienced. Loving, sweet, artless, and gentle words which are pleasing to hear and are altogether free from acerbity, sharpness, pungency, coldness, sarcasm, insolence, and other faults are known as priya. After Anudvegakara, Priya definition is also here. You know what Satyam is? It's truth. And words which are ultimately beneficial to all, which are altogether free from violence, malice, jealousy, and animosity, and are full of love, compassion, and good wishes are called Hita. So the definition of Hita is also here. This reminded me of a Manusmriti which says Satyam Bruyat, Priyam Bruyat, Na Bruyat Satyam Apriyam, Priyam Anritam Na Bruyat Esha Dharma Sanatanaha. So I got reminded of that Manusmriti. I looked up the verse and I wrote it down here, which means say what is true, sweet, don't say true but not sweet, or sweet but not true. This is eternal wisdom. So you have to say the truth, but if it is not in a situation where you can't say it without anger, don't say it. Or anger or any sort of sharpness or lack of sweetness. If it is bitter truth, you better not say it to others. So we say, I'm direct, I'm very frank, all that is fine, but Manusmriti says that in order to not avoid, in order to avoid hurting others, this is the way you speak. This is the most austere way of speaking, which is you speak only the truth, but truth which is sweet. Don't speak truth which is not sweet. And don't speak sweet but not truth. Don't speak a lie, just being sweet so that you think you're not hurting the other and you're being misleading in that case. So that is the austerity of speech. There's a good book which is 4 agreements. It's a small, like a booklet, in which the first thing that is ever spoken about is impeccable speech. How your speech should be impeccable, which is absolutely free from all sorts of faults. Your speech should be extremely pure. The uttering of only such words as combine themselves in all 4 virtues, that is, unoffensiveness, veracity, agreeability, and wholesomeness, and are free from all impurities of speech mentioned in the Shastras, can be recognized as the austerity of speech. Words which have the least tinge of these impurities and lack in any of the aforesaid virtues do not fall under the category of complete austerity of speech. Lord is speaking about complete austerity of speech here, purity of speech, which means all these 4 virtues of not being offensive, being agreeable, being wholesome, being being free of impurities, all these things should be there in the speech. Even if it is missing a little bit, it's not under austerity of speech. And that's why the word cha has been added. That's what it signifies. Priya hitam cha yat means even if it is a little bit here or there, it's not austere speech. Reciting the Vedas and their auxiliaries, namely works on grammars, phonetics, smriti texts, the Puranas, Stotras, or panegyrics to God, according to one's qualifications, uttering the praises, glory, and name of God, and offering prayers, etc. to God. All these are included in Swadhyaya Abhyasanam. Swadhyaya Abhyasanam becomes Swadhyaya Abhyasanam. All the above virtues and practices are connected with speech. They eradicate all impurities of speech and purify it along with the mind. Hence, they have been spoken of as austerity of speech. What helps in developing austerity or purity of speech is Swadhyaya and Abhyasa. Swadhyaya is reading of scriptures. Just like the ones we are doing now, we are studying scriptures. And Abhyasa, we are going to see that There is going to be Namajapa in my application part where I do see where Lord is going with this. But before that, speaking of application of each verse, I had previously shown this method of studying, which is a SOAP: scripture, observation, application, and prayer. Now, each verse, except those that only mention the warriors' names in the first chapter, you will have an application. You will definitely have an application. Now, I had studied 3rd chapter, 25th verse here, and I had taken up some ideas from here. He's saying wise men act without attachment and wishing the welfare of the world. Now, I want to see how I can become that, right? So exert the same effort, same in sincerity, same everything. But ask one more question. Is my action surrendered to the Lord? Is this for the collective good? If the answer is unclear, still do what is in front of you with pure heart and seek His help. He is sure to help. This is what I have written. That an action that is coming from ego or selfishness cannot be for the welfare of everybody, right? So when an action is being done, we have to ask this question: is this for the welfare of everybody? Is my action surrendered to Lord? So if the answer is unclear, still your karma remains. What is in right now in front of you has been put forth by Lord for you to do. So you definitely have to do it, but we are going to ask for His help. And then I wrote a prayer. So scripture, observation, application, and prayer. This is a method of study where you observe something from the scripture, the meaning, and then you apply it to your life, and you say a prayer if you want to. I mean, if you're somebody who does not pray and does not believe in prayer, you can skip that part. Now for 17th chapter, 15th verse, I have written, and I did this while I was doing the verse, and unfortunately I can't do that. I'm just going to read from here. So the first thing that ever occurs to you is that Lord is speaking about truth here. Well, if one is unable to do anything at all, okay, spirituality is a huge thing, and this is a process of identifying who you are or recognizing who you are. So there's so many things involved in here, and if you are overwhelmed with all of it, Lord says you're not the body, Lord says you're not the mind, Lord says you're Atma, that is your true identification. Everything else is an object, and our mistaken identity is our ego. When we refer to ourselves, we refer to ourselves as a man or woman, which is actually a body. We are saying I'm intelligent or a fool, which is again a modification of mind. So every time we speak of ourselves, we're not actually speaking of the real entity. So to get there, there's so much, and what can one do, right? One can do just one thing, which is to vow to stick with honesty. Now, that alone, that's why Satyameva Jayate, and the first sloka in Bhagavatam is Satyam Param Dhimahi. Satyam is Lord, truth is Lord, Lord is truth. So if you want to get closer to God or self-realize or get into spirituality at all, one thing that will help you is to be honest and stick to truth. And then I've written unhurtful, no annoyance to others, sweet. I wrote Priya and Hita and Anugvegakaram. All three of them I wrote down. And then I talked about application. Now, how would I apply this? If I have to be austere with speech, what would I do? Actually, a good idea is to speak less, because control over speech will make you observe more, observe yourself more, and observe others. So restraint against speaking will include avoiding not so austere speech. Now, for example, it's true that people just, when you talk too much, you just blurt out a lot more than you know what you need to, right? So it is by reducing your speech, you're also reducing your not so austere speech. That way, you are able to be mindful of what you're saying. For example, fasting does the same thing. When you are fasting, or when you're saying today I won't take onion, or this entire Navaratri, and it's a famous thing in India not to have any meat during those 9 days. So when it becomes a habit on the ninth day, on the 10th day, when you do go back to eat what you vowed not to eat, your mind will tell you, oh my God, this is that. Are you sure? So you're building restraint. So you're building restraint by doing less of something, right? That's what speaking less will do. Thereby you can stick to speaking the truth alone, and thereby achieve austerity of speech. Number 2 is, I said, name, divine name, and Shastra Swadhyaya. So as long as we have decided to speak, now we are saying, I cannot control speech, I'm somebody who speaks a lot. Okay, then what we can do is to divinize speech. Just take the name of the Lord instead of speaking, or do Shastra Swadhyaya, which is reading of the scriptures, studying of the scriptures, talking about the scriptures, learning of the scriptures, just saying and reciting the scriptures. That is one more way to stick to austere way of speaking. And why is austere speech necessary at all? Why is Lord bringing this? Because maintaining austerity in speech will lead to clearer mind and calmer mind, which will lead to self or God realization, is what I wrote. Because it is the known fact that the inner and outer silence, both inner and outer silence, leads to less mind activity. And if the mind is calmed down, that's when your soul can shine. If mind is an overactive drive, all your senses are going to be overactive. Whether it's speech or deeds, or you'll be doing the next thing, this is a disease in our society, that we will have calendars full of things to do. Go there, have food, and this is potluck, and invite 15 more people, go here, go there, go to that class, go here, go. Most of the time is spent in doing and not being. So that's something that clutters mind. So if the mind has to be calmer, you do maintain austerity in your speech, your deeds, your thoughts, everything. It's going to be a moderate way to live. This way your mind will be less active. If your mind is less active, it is as good as being in a meditative mode. This is exactly why saints don't speak much, and Bhagavan Ramana is a famous example for that. He's known to just sit there, and days and days and days people have just sat there, and he has not said a word, and still people had left with lighter hearts and lighter minds and clearer way to self-realization. This is why, because saints maintain that austerity in speech, and thereby paving way to self-realization. Because mind is calmer. If the mind is calm, all this motion of excessive thinking and doing, also karma, karma has to be something that's moksha oriented. Karma should be actions that will free you rather than bind you. And that's not how we are leading our life. And that's why rishis gave us a good idea. You do whatever you do, right? Just divinize it. How do you divinize it? You do service to your family members as a service to Lord. You do your job as a service to Lord. You handle everybody. You exactly are placed in a situation where you have to do more and not be contemplative and all that. What you do, you divinize those actions. And by divinizing the action, there's one more thing you can do. You cannot just say, I'm going to serve Lord today, and go to the office and not be irritated with your co-worker or boss. It's going to happen. If you have all those triggers, it's going to follow you. The best way rishis have done, they know our lifestyle, so what they did, they gave nama japa. I cannot emphasize enough the need and the importance of Namajapa in this Kali Yuga. So what you do, you go there, you're not going to declare this is a service to Lord, being untruthful in your mind. You are going to say, I'm going to do my best and I'm going to, dedicate this day to Lord, and keep on chanting His name inside. You keep on chanting your name, your chintan or your mind is going to want something to mull over, right? You give the mind what it needs. You give the mind something to mull over. Why don't you give Lord's name to mull over, or Lord's leelas, or something like a shastra that you study? That mind can keep on chewing it up, rather than being irritated with a co-worker or a boss or a relative. You're giving the mind something divine, and that's a good thing. That also works on speech and mind and thinking. In many levels it purifies you, and that is why saying the name has been mentioned here along with Shastra Swadhyaya. So I hope you enjoyed this study session, and I'll meet you with much more. I'm sorry I had not been able to do a lot. I will try to do my best in future with these study sessions. And for as an announcement, I'm going to start a scripture writing session in February, and I'm going to set up a notebook and we'll start writing all the verses in Bhagavad Gita this year. We'll start in February because I already have missed January. So we are going to be writing from Swami Nikhilananda's work, which is just meaning. I'm still trying to find out the version, the book. So sorry. It was somewhere here. It'll show up. So we are going to use Swami Nikhilananda's Bhagavad Gita. We are going to write from chapter 1 until chapter 18, the last verse. We'll just write the meaning, and if we feel urged to study more, we will pick up the Gita, read the sloka, get into a detailed study. But that notebook that we're going to dedicate is just going to write the verses. If you are up to it, you can join me. You can take a notebook and start writing as I write. You can buy Swami Nikhilananda's work or any Gita that you have, just the meaning. So it takes only 5 to 6 minutes to do one verse. If we are up to it, we can do 2 or 3 according to your, and if you missed one day, the next day you can finish it off, because it's just the meaning. It's extremely easy practice to do, something that works very far. It remains in your mind, because you're writing just the meaning. Somewhere it is going to appear one day and say, oh, this is something that I saw somewhere, and then it will pique your interest. You may even get into a deep dive study doing that. So I'll meet you with the scripture writing challenge or session, or write scripture with me video very soon. Until then, Radhe Radhe, and hope you're all studying very well, and may Lord Krishna, the Jagat Guru, bless us all with knowledge. Radhe Radhe.